You've probably heard of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, but did you know that the hidden sins of these two cities run far deeper than we often realize? Let's dive into the lesser-known sins that caused God's wrath to rise and led to the most severe punishment in history. Stay with me through this video, because as we uncover the astonishing truth behind Sodom and Gomorrah, you'll see that the lessons from thousands of years ago are still relevant today. Let's begin this journey. Don't forget to like this video if you find it helpful. And you know, YouTube's algorithm favors videos with more likes, so help me reach a wider audience by giving this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate your support. Let's begin our story with Abraham, regarded as the father of many nations, an important figure in both the Bible and religious history. He was chosen by God, promised a great lineage and the land of promise, even though he was elderly and had no children. With his strong faith and reverence for God, Abraham became a symbol of loyalty and absolute obedience. One day, while Abraham was calmly standing outside his house in the scorching midday heat, he noticed three strangers approaching from a distance. Without hesitation, he ran to greet them, stepping away from his home with hospitality. He bowed his head in respect and said, "If it pleases you, may I have the honor of offering some hospitality before you continue on your journey? Let me bring water so you can wash your feet and rest under the tree. I will also offer some bread to refresh you." The guests accepted his invitation with gratitude, and Abraham quickly instructed his servants to prepare what was needed. He rushed into the house and asked Sarah, his wife, to quickly prepare 3 servings of fine meal from the best flour. Without delay, Abraham himself kneaded the dough and baked the bread. Afterward, he ran to the herd, selected a healthy young calf, and gave it to the servant to prepare. He also remembered to bring fresh curds and prepared meat, serving it all to the guests under the shade of the tree. Throughout this time, Abraham stayed close by to ensure they were well taken care of as they enjoyed their meal. Soon after, the attention of the guests turned to Sarah, Abraham's wife. When asked, Abraham replied that she was in the tent. One of them gave a surprising prophecy: "Be assured that within a year I will return, and Sarah, your wife, will bear a son." Sarah, overhearing from behind the tent door, couldn't help but laugh quietly. At this time, both Abraham and Sarah were very old, and Sarah had long passed the age of childbearing. This prophecy made her skeptical, wondering if such a miracle could truly happen, given their age, and the joy of motherhood seemed beyond reach. God asked Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, doubting her ability to bear a child at her age? Is there anything too hard for me, your God, to accomplish? At the appointed time next year, I will return, and Sarah will have a son." Surprised and afraid, Sarah denied laughing, but God affirmed, "No, you did laugh." Then the visitors rose and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham walked with them to see them off. In his thoughts, God deliberated whether to reveal to Abraham what was about to happen. He considered Abraham's destiny to become the father of a great nation, and how all nations on earth would be blessed through him. Abraham had been chosen to instruct his children and household to follow the ways of the Lord, living in righteousness and justice, so that God's promises to him might be fulfilled. God then revealed that the cries of injustice from Sodom and Gomorrah had become impossible to ignore, and that the sins of the inhabitants were exceedingly grave. He decided to go down himself to investigate whether the actions of the people were truly as bad as the cries that had reached him. If not, he would know. Then the 2 men turned toward Sodom, while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Abraham approached and said, "Will you really sweep away the righteous along with the wicked? Would you spare the city if there are 50 righteous people within it? Surely you wouldn't treat the righteous and the wicked the same, destroying them both. Will not the judge of all the earth do what is right?" God replied, "If I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the entire city for their sake." Humbly, Abraham continued, "I, who am but dust and ashes, dare to speak to you, Lord. What if the number of righteous people falls short by 5? Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? God answered, "If I find 45 righteous people there, I will not destroy it." Abraham persisted, "What if only 40 are found?" God said, "For the sake of 40, I will not destroy it." Abraham, with great reverence, continued pleading, "What if only 30 righteous people can be found?" God assured him, I will not destroy the city if I find 30 righteous people." Abraham asked again, "Let me speak once more. What if only 20 righteous people are found?" God replied, "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." Finally, Abraham said, "What if there are only 10 righteous people?" God answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy the city." When the conversation was over, God departed, and Abraham returned to his place. This heartfelt intercession by Abraham for the people of Sodom reflects his deep compassion and his unwavering trust in God's mercy. At the heart of this story lies the question of justice. While it is clear that God has absolute power to do whatever he wills, the narrative invites reflection on whether he acts justly. God's responses to Abraham's pleas provide the answer to this profound question. Interestingly, God had two reasons for revealing his plans. First, all nations would be blessed through Abraham, so God informed him of Sodom's impending destruction before Abraham received these blessings. Second, Abraham had a responsibility to teach his descendants about righteousness and justice, ensuring that they would continue to enjoy God's blessings. If the corruption of Sodom's inhabitants had reached its peak, God's judgment would be inevitable. Abraham was confident there were still righteous people in Sodom, so he prayed based on God's justice. His prayer highlights the greatness of his character. Abraham not only asked for the righteous to be spared, but he also prayed for the wicked in the city, hoping they might be forgiven because of the presence of the righteous. Previously, he had rescued these residents in a battle. Now he prayed for them with the same courage, perseverance, and compassion as when he fought for their freedom. While many might be surprised by how Abraham negotiated with God, his prayer was always offered with humility and sincere respect. Abraham didn't try to convince God to go against his will. Instead, he asked for justice and salvation for Sodom, proposing conditions starting with 50, 45, 40, 30, 20, and even just 10 righteous people. In contrast, Lot's plea for Zoar had a different tone. This further highlights the theme of justice and blessings from God, emphasizing the importance of fairness and mercy in the story. These lessons not only apply to Israel, but also touched Abraham's heart, turning them into a prayer of compassion. In Genesis 19, we witness a significant moment. In the evening, two angels arrived in Sodom and found Lot sitting at the city gate. When he saw them, he immediately stood up to greet them, bowing down to show respect, and invited them. "Please come to my house, stay the night, wash your feet, and tomorrow you may continue your journey." Initially, the angels refused, saying they would stay in the square. But after Lot urged them, they agreed and went to his house, where he prepared a meal with wine and unleavened bread. They ate together before resting. The people of the city, young and old, gathered around Lot's house, demanding he hand over the guests so they could know them intimately. In response, Lot stepped out to meet them, closing the door behind him, trying to protect his guests. He even offered his 2 virgin daughters in place of the strangers, pleading with the mob not to commit such a vile crime. This scene not only exposed the utter depravity of Sodom's people, but also highlighted the importance of hospitality and the duty to protect guests in the culture of that time. It also showed Lot's desperate attempt to preserve these values, even when faced with danger. Immediately, the guests, who were actually angels, pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. They struck the crowd outside with blindness, from the young to the old, so that they stumbled around, exhausted from trying to find the door. The angels asked Lot about any other family members still in Sodom, including sons, daughters, or anyone else, instructing him to bring them out of the city. They explained that God had sent them to destroy Sodom because the cries of injustice from the city had reached heaven and could no longer be ignored. Lot hurried out to find his future sons-in-law, the men engaged to his daughters, and warned them, "Quickly, leave this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city." However, his future sons-in-law thought he was joking and paid no attention. As dawn approached, the angels urged Lot, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." But Lot hesitated, and in God's mercy, because of Abraham, the angels took hold of his hand, along with the hands of his wife and 2 daughters, and led them safely out of the city before its destruction. Once outside the city, one of the angels warned, "Flee for your lives. Do not look back and do not stop anywhere in the valley. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." This moment emphasized both the urgency of Sodom's destruction and God's great mercy in sparing Lot and his family, giving them an opportunity to escape the coming disaster. However, Lot pleaded with the angel, "Oh no, my Lord, please listen to me. Your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have shown me great kindness by saving my life. But I cannot flee to the mountains. Disaster will overtake me before I get there, and I will die. Please let me flee to this nearby town. It is small and close enough for me to reach. Let me go there to save my life." The angel replied, "Very well, I will grant this request. I will not destroy the town you speak of. Hurry, escape to it, because I cannot do anything until you are safe there." For this reason, the town was called Zoar, meaning small. The angels had to physically lead Lot and his family out of the city, showing Lot's hesitation, even as destruction loomed. The next morning, God, in his mercy, saved Lot because of Abraham's intercession. Yet, Lot still sought additional concessions from the angels after being rescued, asking for permission to take refuge in the small town of Zoar. This scene serves as a powerful reminder to the Israelites about Lot's hesitation and the angel's intervention to bring him to safety. It raises the question, why do some of God's people cling to a corrupt world instead of fleeing from a society destined for destruction? When Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the horizon. At that moment, God rained down burning sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the heavens. He destroyed the cities, the valley, all the inhabitants of the cities, and the surrounding land. Lot's wife, ignoring the warning, looked back at Sodom out of curiosity and was immediately turned into a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. Looking toward Sodom, Gomorrah, and the entire region of the Dead Sea Valley, he saw smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. When God destroyed the cities of the plain, including Sodom, he remembered Abraham and rescued Lot, Abraham's nephew, from the disaster that destroyed the cities where Lot had lived. In this devastating destruction, God burned the wicked cities and the surrounding land with burning sulfur. Some believe that sulfur deposits exploded from the earth and fell from the sky, igniting in a terrifying fire. Lot's wife, tempted to look back, turned into a pillar of salt, symbolizing disobedience. The sulfurous fire created the thick smoke Abraham saw from afar. While God judged the wicked in the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and saved Lot, answering Abraham's prayer. After living in Zoar for a time, Lot became afraid and decided to leave the city, taking his 2 daughters to live in a cave in the mountains. One day, the elder daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man left on earth for us to marry and have children in the usual way. Let's make our father drunk, and we will lie with him to preserve our family line through him." That night, they made their father drunk, and the elder daughter lay with him. Lot, being drunk, was completely unaware of when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the elder daughter said to the younger, "I lay with our father last night. Let's make him drunk again tonight, and you will lie with him to preserve our family line." They did as planned the following night. After making their father drunk again, the younger daughter lay with him, and once again he was unaware of when she lay down or when she got up. In this way, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The elder daughter gave birth to a son named Moab, meaning from father, who became the ancestor of the Moabites. The younger daughter also gave birth to a son and named him Ben-Ami, meaning son of my kin, who became the ancestor of the Ammonites. This story records the events that took place in the cave in the mountains, where Lot and his 2 daughters sought refuge. Initially, Lot feared going up into the mountains and sought refuge in Zoar. But ironically, he had to leave Zoar and live in a cave in the mountains, a stark contrast to the advanced civilization of Sodom he had once lived in. Thinking that remarriage was unlikely, the 2 daughters, whose fiancés had died, each got their father drunk and lay with him. This incestuous act highlights the influence of Sodom's corrupt culture on them. As a result, they gave birth to Moab and Ben-Ami, the ancestors of 2 nations that would later become eternal enemies of Israel. The names Moab, meaning from father, and Ben-Ami, meaning son of my kin, forever remind us of the shameful origins of these enemies of Israel. This story not only records God's judgment on a morally decaying Canaanite civilization, but also serves as a stern warning. Lot's story is a testimony to the complexity of human nature and the challenges of living in a society that does not reflect moral values. Though Lot is depicted as a righteous, hospitable, and generous man, even a leader in Sodom, his life there highlights the difficulty of maintaining personal morality in a decaying environment. Lot tried to uphold his dignity by encouraging the people to live better and seek justice, but he was tormented by the evil deeds surrounding him, as referenced in 2 Peter 2:7-8. While condemning the lifestyle of Sodom, he was simultaneously drawn to the city's prosperity and comfort, trading the simplicity and righteousness of a life in the mountains. In Genesis 13:10-11, Lot was captivated by the beauty and fertility of the Jordan Valley, a well-watered land before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. This choice began his increasing attachment to Sodom, illustrating how the values of Sodom slowly took hold of his life. The arrival of the angels marked a turning point, exposing the falsehood in Lot's way of living. Despite appearing righteous outwardly, Lot's words carried no weight with the people around him. Although he was fully aware of the horrific sin surrounding him, Lot, in a tragic irony, was willing to offer his own daughters to protect his guests from the men of Sodom. This act revealed the deep contradictions between his principles and the decisions he made under pressure. Lot's story serves as a sobering reminder of complacency and hypocrisy, emphasizing the importance of staying true to one's values even in the face of temptations and trials. Lot was spared judgment by God's grace, but his heart remained tied to Sodom. His wife, unable to let go of the city, looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt. Lot's daughters, influenced by Sodom's culture, unhesitatingly committed incest with their father after getting him drunk. Lot struggled to maintain his faith but chose to live in Sodom. Ultimately, he could not have both. Had God not destroyed Sodom, Sodom would have destroyed him. This story revolves around four central themes: God's swift judgment of the Canaanites, Lot's attachment to a corrupt society, Lot's merciful deliverance, and the recurrence of sin in the cave. Israel could learn that God's severe judgment was just in the face of such terrible crimes. They could also learn the folly of being drawn to the sins of the Canaanites. Knowing that God judged the Canaanites, it is essential to live righteously. The simple lesson is, do not love the world or anything in it, for the world and its desires will pass away. 1 John 2:15-17. Under God's judgment, clinging to a corrupt world is dangerous because it will be destroyed swiftly. In teaching his disciples about impending judgment, Jesus referred to Lot's wife and Sodom's destruction. "Remember Lot's wife," he said. "Whoever tries to keep their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life will preserve it." Luke 17:32-33. Those who seek the best of this world will lose everything, as the world will be destroyed and eternal life forfeited. Luke 17:33-37. Jesus also said that if the miracles he performed in Capernaum had been performed in Sodom, the people of Sodom would have repented long ago. Matthew 11:23. This shows that God judges based on the level of knowledge and understanding, and that physical destruction is not the worst punishment for sinners. Reflecting on the story of Lot and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, we are reminded of the power of faith and the importance of standing firm against the temptations of the world. God judged the wicked, but he also always offers a path to salvation for those who repent and turn to him. Let this story serve as a powerful reminder for us to live by God's values, not to be swept away by the world, and to maintain unwavering faith in our lives. If you have been encouraged by this message, don't forget to hit like on the video and share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. We would also love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below sharing what part of Lot's story impacted you the most, and how we can live a righteous life in a world full of temptations. We thank God for his teachings that guide us through life's trials. See you in the next video, where we will continue to explore valuable lessons from the Bible. May God bless you and your family.